Welcome to HOA Violation Vault. I did not raise my voice. I raised my receipts. I am speaking for the community, Lori yelled, waving a stack of papers at me like they were a warrant. She stood on my porch at 7 in the morning, her keyring jangling with every sharp gesture, the sound grating and aggressive. "You are going to follow the procedure," she said, her voice cutting through the quiet morning. I stepped back, still holding my coffee, trying to process what was happening. "A neighbor's car was ramaged through last night and I saw your silhouette near the vehicles," she continued, her chin raised like she was delivering a verdict. I am a logistics coordinator, not a car thief, but Lori Hastings did not care about facts. She was the pool committee chair for the Silver Oak Community Association in Denver, Colorado, and she had decided I was a criminal. The HOA had sent a violation notice to my door 3 days ago about a parking sticker that expired 2 weeks late, and I paid the fine immediately. Now Lori was back with a new accusation, this one far worse. "This is not the first time," she said, pulling out another sheet. "You have multiple complaints on file. Parking violations, a noise complaint from April, and now theft." I felt my chest tighten. The noise complaint was bogus, filed after I ran my vacuum at 2 in the afternoon on a Saturday, and the parking sticker issue was an honest mistake during a work trip. But Lori was building a narrative, stacking unrelated old complaints to paint me as a repeat offender. "I did not steal anything," I said, keeping my voice level. "Show me proof." She smirked and tapped her clipboard. "I decide what evidence is allowed," she said. "That is not how this works," I replied. She ignored me and kept talking. "The clubhouse and office areas are now off limits to you until this is resolved. Consider this a no trespass warning." My stomach dropped. I had a package being held at the management office, and I needed access to the gym for my morning routine before work. "You cannot just ban me without a hearing," I said. She leaned closer, her phone suddenly in her hand. The screen lit up. "I am documenting this conversation," she said. "If you resist, it goes in the report." I stepped back inside and closed the door, my hands shaking. This was absurd. I had lived in Silver Oak for 2 years and never had a serious issue until Lori took over the pool committee 6 months ago. She had a reputation for turning small problems into crusades, but I never thought I would be her target. I grabbed my own phone and opened the neighborhood app. Lori had already posted. "Community alert," the heading said. "Residents should be aware of suspicious activity near the parking area last night." A person matching the description of a resident in Building C was seen near vehicles around 11 p.m. If you experienced any theft or tampering, please report it to management immediately. My building was Building C. My name was not mentioned, but the implication was clear. The comments were already rolling in. Someone asked if police were called. Another neighbor said their glove box had been rifled through and a padded mailer with ripped seams was missing. A third person tagged me directly. "Was this you?" I felt heat rise in my face. I was home by 9:30 last night, logged into a work portal uploading shipping manifests until nearly midnight. I had time-stamped proof, but the damage was already done. Lori was using the neighborhood chat to spread a simplified lie that painted me as a thief, and people were believing it. I typed a response. "I was home all night working. I have proof. Check your doorbell cameras before you accuse people." I hit send and immediately regretted the defensive tone. It made me sound guilty. Within seconds, Lori replied, "Deflection is not proof. Management has been notified." I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I opened my work portal and took screenshots of my upload timestamps. The portal showed I was active from 9:42 p.m. until 11:53 p.m., well past the time Lori claimed she saw someone. But when I looked closer, my heart sank. The portal had updated the time zone settings overnight, and now the timestamps displayed in Mountain Time instead of Central, which I had been using during a recent work trip. The displayed times were 2 hours off, and it looked like I was offline during the window Lori described. This was the side complication I did not need. I would have to prove the portal changed my timestamps after upload, and that required contacting IT support, which would take days. I did not have days. The tow yard closes soon, Lori had said on my porch, and if they take your car, you cannot recover it until tomorrow. I had not registered that threat fully until now. She was planning to have my car towed. I grabbed my keys and rushed outside. My sedan was still parked in my assigned spot, but a bright orange sticker was plastered on the driver's side window. Violation. It read in bold letters. Unauthorized vehicle. Tow authorized after 24 hours. The timestamp on the sticker was from this morning, 7:10 a.m., right after Lori left my porch. I pulled out my phone and called the management office. A tired voice answered. Silver Oak Community Association. This is Denise. Denise, this is Unit 214 in Building C. Someone put a tow sticker on my car this morning and I need to know why. There was a pause and the sound of typing. Let me pull up your account. Another pause. Okay, I see a note here from Lori Hastings. It says, your vehicle registration does not match the parking database, and there is an ongoing investigation into a theft incident. Your access to common areas has been suspended pending review. This is insane, I said, my voice rising. I did not steal anything, my registration is current, and I need that sticker removed now. Denise sighed. I understand, but I cannot override a committee decision without board approval. You will need to file a formal dispute and attend the next board meeting. When is that? 3 weeks. 3 weeks? My car is about to be towed. She hesitated. I can put a hold on the tow for 48 hours, but that is the best I can do. You need to resolve this with Lori directly, or submit your evidence to the board in writing. I thanked her and hung up, my chest tight. Denise was not the enemy here. She was a management receptionist who was tired of the chaos and quietly helped when she could. But she could not fix this. I needed to deal with Lori. I walked back to my apartment and started gathering evidence. I had my work portal screenshots even if the timestamps looked wrong. I had my doorbell camera footage from last night, which showed me entering my apartment at 9:28 p.m. and not leaving again. I had my phone location history, which I could export from my settings. But I needed more. I needed something concrete that tied the theft to someone else, or at least cleared me beyond doubt. I opened my laptop and logged into the Silver Oak resident portal. The access control system logged every time a fob was used to enter a building or common area. I pulled up my history. The last entry was 2 days ago when I used the gym. No entries for last night. That was good, but it was not enough. I needed to see who did have access to the parking area and the mailboxes last night. The system let residents view their own logs, but not others. I would need management to run a full report, and that required a formal request, which would take time I did not have. Then I remembered something. A neighbor in Building B, Marcus, worked in IT security and had helped the HOA set up the access system last year. He mentioned once that the system kept a rolling 30-day audit log that included every fob scan, even failed attempts. If I could get Marcus to pull that log, I might see who was actually near the parking area last night. I texted him, "Hey, can you help me with something? HOA emergency." He replied within minutes, "What is going on?" I gave him the short version. Lori is accusing me of stealing from cars last night. I need the access log to prove I was not there. Can you pull it? There was a long pause. I can try, but if Lori finds out I helped you, she will come after me next. I know, I replied, but this is getting out of hand. She is trying to tow my car. Another pause. Okay. Meet me at the mailbox cluster in 10 minutes. Bring your fob. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and a small flashlight I kept in my jacket pocket. The flashlight was a cheap LED model, but it was bright and compact, useful for checking dark corners or pointing at things when I needed emphasis. I had no idea it would become a key prop in this nightmare. I headed downstairs and walked across the parking lot to the mailbox cluster near the clubhouse. Marcus was already there, leaning against the brick wall, his laptop bag slung over one shoulder. He looked nervous. "This better be worth it," he said. "It is," I replied. He pulled out a tablet and opened an app. The Access System admin panel loaded, rows of data filling the screen. "I need your fob number," he said. I handed him my fob and he scanned it. "Okay, here is your history. Last scan was 48 hours ago, gym entrance at 6 a.m. Nothing last night. Good. Now show me everyone who scanned near the parking area or mailboxes between 10 p.m. and midnight last night." He tapped through a few screens and frowned. There were 3 scans. One from a resident in Building A at 10:12 p.m., mailbox access. One from a vendor at 10:45 p.m., service entrance to the clubhouse. And one from Lori Hastings at 11:18 p.m., mailbox and parking gate. I felt my pulse spike. Lori was there. She scanned her fob at 11:18, right in the window she claimed she saw my silhouette. Why would she be at the mailboxes and parking gate that late? Marcus shook his head. "No idea, but it is in the log." "Can you screenshot this?" He hesitated. "If I do, and Lori sees it, she will know I gave it to you. I will crop out anything that identifies you," I said. "Please. This is the only proof I have." He sighed and took a screenshot, then airdropped it to my phone. "You owe me," he said. "I owe you big time," I replied. I walked back to my apartment, my mind racing. Lori had access to the parking area at 11:18 p.m., which meant she was there when the car was broken into. She claimed she saw my silhouette, but the access log showed only her fob was used. Either she was lying about seeing me, or she was the one who broke into the car and was trying to frame me. I needed more proof. I opened the doorbell camera app on my phone and scrubbed through the footage again. My camera faced the hallway, not the parking lot, so it would not show the actual theft. But it did show me entering my apartment at 9:28 p.m. and staying inside. I exported the clip and saved it to my cloud drive. Then I checked the building security cameras. Silver Oak had cameras at each building entrance and the parking gates, but residents could not access the footage directly. Management had to pull it, and that required a formal request and a reason. I called the office again. Denise answered. "It is Unit 214 again. I need to request security camera footage from last night, parking gate and Building C entrance, between 9 p.m. and midnight." She sighed. "You will need to fill out a records request form and submit it in writing. How long does that take?" 3 to 5 business days. I do not have 3 to 5 days. My car is about to be towed, and Lori Hastings is accusing me of theft with no proof. Denise lowered her voice. "Look, I am not supposed to say this, but Lori submitted her own footage request this morning. She is trying to get the parking gate camera footage to support her claim. If you want to beat her to it, you need to file your request now and mark it urgent." I thanked her and hung up. I filled out the online form, uploaded my doorbell footage and the access log screenshot, and marked it urgent with a note. "False accusation, immediate tow threat, need footage to clear my name." I hit submit and hoped it would be enough. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Lori Hastings. You are required to appear for a compliance inspection of your unit tomorrow at 9 a.m. Failure to comply will result in additional fines and a formal hearing." I stared at the screen. A compliance inspection? She had no authority to demand entry into my unit without notice and a valid reason. I texted back. "I do not consent to an inspection without proper notice and HOA board approval." Her reply was instant. "The pool committee has enforcement authority under Section 12 of the bylaws. You will comply or face escalation." I pulled up the HOA bylaws on the resident portal and found Section 12. It covered pool area rules and seasonal maintenance, nothing about unit inspections. Lori was making it up, but she was counting on me not knowing the rules well enough to push back. I screenshotted the bylaw and texted it back to her. Section 12 does not grant you inspection authority. Cite the correct section or withdraw the demand. No response. I felt a small surge of victory, but it was short-lived. An hour later, someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Lori standing there with a clipboard and a woman I did not recognize. "This is Sandra," Lori said. "She is my witness for the inspection. I told you I do not consent," I said. Lori smiled, cold and sharp. "I am speaking for the community, and the community requires compliance. Step aside." I stepped into the doorway, blocking entry. "You do not have legal authority to enter my home without a warrant or my permission. If you try to force entry, I will call the police." Sandra shifted behind Lori, looking uncomfortable. Lori did not move. "You are obstructing an official investigation," she said. "I will note this in my report." "Fine," I said. "Note it. But you are not coming in." Lori stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked away, Sandra trailing behind her. I closed the door and locked it, my hands shaking. This was escalating fast. I needed help. I called my neighbor Julia, who had lived in Silver Oak for 5 years and knew the HOA inside and out. She answered on the second ring. "Julia, it is your neighbor from 214. Lori Hastings is accusing me of theft and trying to inspect my unit without authority. Do you know a good HOA attorney?" She groaned. "Lori is at it again. She pulled the same stunt on a family in Building D last year. They ended up moving out because she made their lives hell. What did they do wrong? They did not fight back hard enough. She buried them in violations and fees until they gave up. You need to document everything and file a complaint with the board. Do not let her wear you down." "I already filed a records request for camera footage," I said. "What else can I do?" "Get a lawyer to send a cease and desist letter." That usually scares the HOA into backing off. "And go to the next board meeting even if it is 3 weeks away. Make noise. Let people see what she is doing." I thanked her and hung up. I searched for HOA attorneys in Denver and found a firm that offered free consultations. I called and explained the situation. The paralegal I spoke to was sympathetic but blunt. "If she is threatening to tow your car and ban you from common areas without due process, that is harassment. We can send a letter, but it will take a few days to draft and deliver. In the meantime, keep documenting everything. Record all interactions, save all texts and emails, and do not give her any ammunition." "What about the inspection demand?" "Ignore it unless she shows up with police or a court order. If she does, call us immediately." I agreed to hire them and hung up, feeling slightly more in control. But the relief did not last. That evening, another knock. I checked the peephole and saw a man in a uniform standing outside. I opened the door. "Can I help you?" He held up a badge. "Deputy Morris, County Sheriff. I got a call about a disturbance at this address." "A disturbance? I have been home all evening." The deputy checked his notes. "A Lori Hastings reported that you threatened her during an inspection attempt this morning. She says she is concerned for her safety." I felt my blood pressure spike. That is not true. She showed up without authority, and I told her she could not enter my unit. I did not threaten anyone. Do you have any proof of that? I pulled out my phone and showed him my doorbell camera footage from this morning. It clearly showed me standing in the doorway, speaking calmly, and Lori walking away. The deputy watched it and nodded. "Okay, this does not look like a threat to me. But I have to file a report. If she calls again, it will go on record that I investigated and found no basis for her claim. Is there anything else I should know?" If you are enjoying this wild HOA chaos, hit that like button and subscribe for more revenge stories. I told him about the theft accusation, the tow threat, and the access log showing Lori was at the parking area when the car was broken into. The deputy raised an eyebrow. You are saying she might be the one who did it? I am saying the evidence does not support her accusation against me, and her behavior is suspicious. Do you have proof she stole anything? Not yet, I admitted, but I am working on it. He handed me a card. If you get solid proof, call me directly. False reports and harassment are serious. I will note this conversation in my incident report. Make sure you get an incident number, I said. I want this documented. He wrote one down and handed it to me. Good luck, he said, and left. I closed the door and sat down, exhausted. It was barely 7 p.m. and I felt like I had been fighting for days. My phone buzzed again. Another post from Lori on the neighborhood app. Update on last night, it read. The resident in question refused to cooperate with a compliance inspection today and became verbally aggressive toward committee staff. This behavior is unacceptable and will be addressed at the next board meeting. I encourage all residents to review their security footage and report any suspicious activity. My hands clenched. She was lying again, twisting the story to make me look dangerous. The comments poured in. Some people defended me, pointing out that compliance inspections required notice and board approval. Others piled on, calling me uncooperative and demanding I be evicted. I wanted to respond, but Julia's advice echoed in my mind. Do not engage. Let the evidence speak. Instead, I focused on gathering more proof. I logged back into the resident portal and checked the parking violation database. My car was listed with a note. Vehicle flagged for tow, unauthorized registration, owner non-compliant. But there was no documentation of what made my registration unauthorized. I pulled up my vehicle registration from the state DMV portal. It was current, valid through next year, and matched the make and model in the HOA system. Someone had flagged my car without cause, and I was willing to bet it was Lori. I took screenshots of everything and added them to a folder on my cloud drive labeled HOA evidence. The folder was growing. Access log screenshot, doorbell footage, work portal timestamps, DMV registration, deputy incident report number, bylaw section 12, text messages from Lori, neighborhood app posts. I had a solid case, but I needed one more thing. I needed to prove Lori was the thief. That meant finding out what she stole and where she hid it. The neighbor who posted about the missing padded mailer had included a photo. The mailer was small, torn along the seams, with a shipping label that was too blurred to read. It looked like the kind of mailer used for documents or small electronics. I texted the neighbor. Hey, this is Unit 214. I saw your post about the stolen mailer. Can you tell me more about what was inside? She replied quickly. It was a refund check from an online return. Not a huge amount, but it is the principle. Someone went through my glove box and took it. My car was not even unlocked. They must have used a Slim Jim or something. Do you have security footage? No, she said. My car was parked in the far corner, no cameras. But I reported it to management this morning. I asked if she knew what time it happened. She said she noticed it around 7 a.m. when she left for work, but the car was fine when she parked it around 9 p.m. the night before. That matched the timeline. I thanked her and moved on to the next step. If Lori stole the check, where would she hide it? The clubhouse had a storage closet where pool supplies and maintenance equipment were kept. Lori had a key as pool committee chair. It was a long shot, but worth checking. The problem was, I was banned from the clubhouse. If I went there and Lori caught me, she would escalate even further. But I had to try. I waited until after dark, around 9 p.m., and walked over to the clubhouse. The building was quiet, lights off except for the security lamp by the front door. I used my fob to scan the entrance, and the door clicked open. The access system had not been updated yet to block me. I stepped inside and moved quickly toward the storage closet near the pool equipment room. The door was unlocked. Inside, shelves were stacked with cleaning supplies, pool chemicals, and boxes of paperwork. I pulled out my flashlight and scanned the shelves. On the top shelf, I saw a small cardboard box, sealed with packing tape. It looked out of place among the cleaning supplies. I pulled it down and opened it. Inside were several items: a torn padded mailer matching the description from the neighbor, a small stack of checks, some made out to Silver Oak Community Association, others to individual names, a couple of key fobs that did not belong to me, and a printed ledger sheet with handwritten notes in the margins. The ledger showed pool maintenance expenses, but the numbers did not add up. Several line items were marked paid with amounts that were higher than the invoices stapled to the sheet. It looked like someone was skimming money from the pool budget and pocketing the difference. I took photos of everything with my phone, making sure the flashlight illuminated each item clearly. Then I heard footsteps outside the closet. I froze. The footsteps stopped, then started again, moving closer. I quickly closed the box, shoved it back on the shelf, and stepped out of the closet, turning off my flashlight. Lori was standing in the hallway, her phone in one hand, a key ring in the other. The key ring had too many keys, jangling as she moved. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "I could ask you the same thing," I said. "You were banned from this building," she said. "I am calling security." "Go ahead," I replied. "But while you are at it, explain why there is a box of stolen items in the storage closet, including a check that was taken from a neighbor's car." Her face went pale, then flushed red. "You went through my things? Your things?" I said. "So you admit the box is yours?" She stammered, then recovered. "Those are confiscated items from the lost and found." "That is not how lost and found works," I said. "And it does not explain the ledger showing inflated expenses." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. "You have no idea what you are talking about. If you repeat any of this, I will sue you for defamation." "Sue me," I said. "I have photos, and I have the access log showing you were at the parking area when the car was broken into. You are not framing me for your crimes." Her expression shifted, from anger to something colder. "You are making a huge mistake," she said. Then she pulled out her phone and started recording. "This resident," she said loudly, "is trespassing in the clubhouse after being banned, and he is making false accusations against a committee member. I am documenting this for the board and law enforcement." I pulled out my own phone and started recording. "This committee chair," I said, "is in possession of stolen property and is attempting to intimidate me to cover it up. I have evidence, and I am reporting it." Lori jabbed her finger toward the door. "Get out. Now." I walked past her and left the building, my heart pounding. I knew I had just crossed a line, but I also knew I had the proof I needed. I went straight home and backed up the photos to 3 different cloud accounts. Then I emailed them to the attorney, to Denise at the management office, and to the deputy who had visited earlier. In the email to the deputy, I wrote, "As discussed, I have found evidence that Lori Hastings may be responsible for the theft she accused me of." Attached are photos of stolen items in her possession, including a check taken from a neighbor's vehicle. I request a formal investigation. I hit send and collapsed on the couch, exhausted but relieved. The next morning, I woke up to a flurry of texts, one from Denise. "The board president wants to meet with you today at noon." Another from the attorney. "Good work. Do not meet with the board without me present. I will be there." And one from Marcus. "Lori just got escorted out of the management office by a deputy." "What did you do?" I smiled. I showed them the evidence. At noon, I walked into the management office with the attorney. The board president, a calm older man named Robert, was waiting in the conference room along with Denise and another board member. Lori was not there. Robert gestured for us to sit. "Thank you for coming," he said. "We have reviewed the materials you submitted, and we have some serious concerns. The sheriff's department is investigating the theft allegations, and we are conducting our own internal review of the pool committee finances. In the meantime, Lori Hastings has been removed from her committee position, and her access to HOA accounts and facilities has been suspended." I felt a wave of relief. "What about the tow threat and the ban from common areas?" Robert nodded. Those actions are rescinded effective immediately. Your vehicle registration is valid, and you have full access to all amenities. We apologize for the inconvenience and the false accusations. We are implementing new procedures to prevent this kind of abuse going forward. The attorney leaned forward. My client also expects a formal apology and assurance that there will be no retaliation. Robert agreed. We will issue a written apology and a statement to the community clarifying that the accusations were unfounded. Additionally, we are requiring that all future enforcement actions be approved by the full board, not individual committee members. Lori Hastings will be required to communicate only in writing going forward, and only through the management office. No direct contact with residents. I felt the tension drain from my body. It was over. But Robert was not done. There is one more thing, he said. The vendor who provided pool maintenance services has submitted a written refusal to work with Lori Hastings after she attempted to falsify invoices and pressure them into supporting her accusations against you. That refusal is part of the record, and it will be shared with the community. A written vendor refusal that embarrasses Karen publicly, I thought. Perfect. As we left the office, Denise caught up with me in the hallway. I just want to say I am glad you fought back, she said quietly. Lori has been a nightmare for years, and no one had the guts to stand up to her. You did the right thing. Thank you, I said, and thank you for helping me when you could. She smiled. Any time. A few days later, I was walking to my car when I saw Lori in the parking lot. She was loading boxes into her trunk, her face red and tight. A vendor staff member stood nearby, arms crossed, watching her. The vendor was the same pool maintenance contractor who had submitted the refusal letter. Lori tried to say something to him, but he cut her off. I told you, we are not working with you anymore. You are done. She slammed her trunk and got in her car, speeding out of the lot. The vendor shook his head and walked away. I felt a grin spread across my face. Karma was real. The neighborhood app exploded over the next few days. The board posted an official statement. After a thorough investigation, the HOA has determined that recent theft accusations against a resident were unfounded. The committee member responsible has been removed from her position, and new oversight procedures are in effect. We apologize to the affected resident and thank the community for their patience. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. People who had been harassed by Lori in the past came forward with their own stories. One resident said she had tried to fine him for having a wreath on his door in July. Another said she had threatened to report his dog to animal control because it barked once. The pattern was clear. Lori had been abusing her position for months, and no one had been able to stop her until now. A week later, the sheriff's department closed their investigation. Deputy Morris called me with an update. We recovered the stolen check and several other items from the storage closet. Lori Hastings has been charged with theft and filing a false report. She is also facing civil penalties from the HOA. You did good work gathering that evidence. I appreciate it, I said. One more thing, he added. The access control report you provided was key. It showed she had access to the parking area at the exact time of the theft, and her story fell apart under questioning. The item was never truly missing, by the way. She moved it to create panic and frame you. That was the twist I had suspected but had not been able to prove until now. Thank you for following up, I said. No problem. Let me know if you need anything else. The HOA held a special meeting a few weeks later to address the fallout. I attended, along with a packed room of residents. Robert stood at the front and outlined the new policies. All enforcement decisions would require board approval. Committee members would no longer have unilateral authority to issue fines, bans, or tow orders. A key log audit had been conducted, and access privileges had been reviewed and updated. Lori Hastings was no longer a resident of Silver Oak, having moved out under pressure from the board and the legal consequences. At the end of the meeting, Robert called me up to the front. I want to publicly thank this resident for his diligence and courage in uncovering misconduct that had been harming our community. Because of his actions, we have implemented reforms that will protect all residents going forward." The room applauded. I felt awkward but grateful. As I sat back down, a neighbor leaned over and whispered, "You are a legend." A few months later, I ran into Denise at the mailbox cluster. She was carrying a stack of notices. "How is everything going?" I asked. "Much better," she said. "The new procedures are working, and we have not had a single abuse complaint since Lori left. Management takes over enforcement decisions and removes Karen's discretion," I thought. "Exactly as it should be." Denise smiled. "Oh, and I thought you would want to know. Lori tried to get a position on the HOA board at her new community. They Googled her name and found the news coverage of the theft charges. She was rejected immediately." I laughed. "That is perfect. Karma strikes again." Denise nodded. "She tried to shame you, and a witness fact-checked her instantly." That moment in the management office when the vendor refused to work with her, it was caught on the security camera. The board shared the clip internally, and it went viral among the staff. Everyone knows what she did. I went back to my apartment that evening and sat on the couch, reflecting on the entire ordeal. It had been exhausting, infuriating, and at times terrifying. But I had fought back, and I had won. The evidence had been the key. The access log, the photos of stolen items, the ledger showing financial fraud, the doorbell footage, the vendor refusal letter. Every piece had added up to a clear picture of abuse and theft. And the system, for once, had worked. The HOA had taken action. The sheriff had investigated. The board had reformed its policies, and Lori Hastings had faced real consequences. Management takes over enforcement decisions and removes Karen's discretion. Karen is required to communicate only in writing going forward, a written vendor refusal that embarrasses Karen publicly. A key log audit proves Karen had access, the HOA changes procedures, and Karen loses her role immediately. All of it had come true. A year later, I was still living in Silver Oak. The community had changed for the better. The new pool committee chair was reasonable and transparent. The board held regular meetings and encouraged resident input. Enforcement actions were fair and consistent. I had even joined the communications committee, helping to manage the neighborhood app and keep discussions civil. One evening, I was walking my usual route around the complex when I passed the storage closet in the clubhouse. The door was propped open, and I could see the shelves inside, neatly organized and well lit. No more hidden boxes, no more shady dealings, just pool supplies and maintenance equipment. Exactly as it should be. I smiled and kept walking. The flashlight I had used that night was still in my jacket pocket. I had kept it as a reminder, a small, cheap LED flashlight that had helped me shine a light on the truth and take down a tyrant. As I reached my building, I thought about Lori one last time. She had tried to destroy me with lies, threats, and abuse of power. She had weaponized the HOA rules, recruited vendors to intimidate me, and spread false accusations to turn the community against me. But she had made one critical mistake. She had underestimated me. She thought I would roll over, pay the fines, and accept the punishment. She thought I would not fight back. She was wrong. I had gathered the evidence, exposed her crimes, and turned her own tactics against her. I had stayed calm, stayed legal, and stayed focused. And in the end, I had won. Not just for myself, but for every resident who had been bullied by her in the past, and every resident who would be protected by the new policies in the future. That was the real victory. Not revenge, but justice. Not destruction, but reform. I hope you enjoyed this wild HOA mess.